sky was a furious blend of crimson and gold, mirroring the chaos that had unfolded across the galaxy. On the edge of a small, verdant planet known to its inhabitants as Earth, a lone spacecraft, battered and scorched, made its desperate descent. Its arrival went unnoticed by the world at large, a mere blip against the vast canvas of the universe. Inside the craft, Zara clung to the controls, her knuckles white as she navigated the smoking vessel through the atmosphere. Her eyes, a striking shade of violet that betrayed her extraterrestrial origin, were focused with an intensity born of sheer desperation. Her planet, once a jewel of the cosmos, had been ravaged by war, leaving her as one of the few survivors fleeing across the stars in search of sanctuary. As the craft shuddered, warning alarms blaring with a cacophony that echoed her rising panic, Zara braced for impact. The ship careened through a dense cluster of trees, breaking branches and scattering wildlife, before finally coming to a halt in a secluded meadow. The silence that followed was a stark contrast to the turmoil of the crash. Cautiously, Zara unstrapped herself and surveyed the damage. The ship was a wreck, irreparable, a final dying breath in its mechanical life. Stepping out into the unfamiliar environment, Zara's senses were assaulted by the rich, earthy smells of the forest and the soft chirping of birds hidden in the lush foliage. It was a world so different from her own, vibrant and teeming with life, yet she couldn't shake off the cloak of loneliness that clung to her. Her survival instincts kicking in, Zara began to trek through the woods, her keen eyes scanning for any sign of civilization or threat. It wasn't long before the dense trees gave way to a clearing, where a small house stood, its architecture quaint and unassuming. Approaching cautiously, Zara's heart pounded in her chest. Here, perhaps, she might find a haven, or at least a temporary reprieve from her plight. She watched from the shadows as a figure emerged from the house, a man with an easy stride and an unsuspecting demeanor. He was tall, with a mane of dark hair and eyes that seemed to scan the horizon thoughtfully. Summoning her courage, Zara stepped into the open. Her voice, when she spoke, carried a musical quality, laced with a poignant tremor of hope and fear. "Please," she began, her words laced with the accent of her alien tongue. "I mean no harm. I am a refugee from across the stars, and I beg your aid. Take me as your servant, for I have nowhere else to go." The man stopped in his tracks, his expression one of bewilderment that slowly morphed into intrigue. He regarded her with a cautious curiosity, his gaze flicking over her exotic appearance, the slight luminescence of her skin, the graceful lines of her form, and the earnest desperation in her luminous eyes. "Why should I trust you?" he asked, his voice steady but not unkind. Zara's reply was simple and heartfelt. "Because I have nothing left to lose, and nowhere else to turn. I ask only for shelter and a chance to prove my worth." The man studied her for a long moment, weighing her words against the potential risks. Finally he nodded, a decision reached. "Come then," he said, extending a hand. "We will talk, and perhaps find a way to accommodate your needs." Gratitude washed over Zara as she followed him into the house, her steps tentative but filled with a burgeoning hope. Little did she know that this Earthling would not only change her fate, but challenge every belief she held dear. Here, on this small, unremarkable planet, her journey had just begun. Zara's first night under the roof of her unexpected benefactor, whom she learned was named Thomas, passed in restless shifts between sleep and vigilance. The comforts of a soft bed and the security of four walls were foreign luxuries to her now. Her mind, ever wary, replayed the echoes of war and loss, the images of her devastated world refusing to dim. By morning, she had made a decision not to burden Thomas with her nightmares. Instead, she offered her assistance with chores, hoping to repay his kindness through labor. The tasks were mundane but grounding, tending to the small garden, repairing a fence, and other odd jobs around the house. Thomas watched her initial attempts with a blend of amusement and mild concern, eventually stepping in to guide her. "You're not holding the hammer correctly," he pointed out gently, adjusting her grip. "Like this, see? You'll get more leverage." Grateful and eager to learn, Zara adapted quickly. Her alien strength proved advantageous, much to Thomas's surprise. What he had initially expected to take all day, Zara accomplished in mere hours. Her efficiency seemed to bridge the gap between them, a mutual respect forming in the wake of shared tasks. As days melded into weeks, Zara's presence became less of an anomaly and more a fixture in Thomas's daily routine. They shared meals, during which Zara listened intently to Thomas's tales of Earth, its cultures and conflicts. She, in turn, shared snippets of her own heritage, her stories painting pictures of celestial beauty and cosmic dances, of a planet where light shimmered through the atmosphere, creating natural displays of art. However, it wasn't all peaceful coexistence. One afternoon, a neighbor stopped by, a woman named Martha, who eyed Zara with undisguised suspicion. "Thomas, who's this then?" she asked, her tone edged with a hint of accusation. "This is Zara," Thomas introduced, his voice steady. "She's staying with me for a while." Martha's eyes narrowed. "She's not from around here, is she? I mean, she's not normal." Zara felt a pang of fear, the threat of discovery raw and immediate, but Thomas was quick to respond, his defense both casual and firm. "She's a distant relative from out of town. Different, yes, but aren't we all in some way?" Martha left with a huff, not entirely convinced, but placated for the moment. The incident left a chill in the air, and Zara realized the precariousness of her situation anew. One evening, as they sat watching the stars, Thomas broached the topic they had both avoided. "You can't hide forever," he said quietly. "We need to find a better solution." Zara followed his gaze into the heavens, her heart heavy. "I know," she admitted. "But where can I go? Who else would shelter someone like me?" Thomas was silent for a moment, considering. "There might be someone," he finally said. "An old friend of mine, works with off-world technologies. Maybe he can help, maybe even find a way to get you back. To a home that no longer exists?" Zara's voice was soft, resigned. "No, Thomas. I think my path lies here, among the stars of your sky, not mine." They sat together for a long while, the silence comfortable, filled with the sounds of a world that was still foreign to Zara, yet increasingly familiar. She realized then that Earth was slowly weaving itself into the fabric of her being, an unexpected sanctuary in the vastness of her loss. The challenge now was to navigate this new existence, to forge a place for herself among the inhabitants of this blue and verdant world. In the weeks that followed, Thomas made contact with his friend, Dr. Elliot Mercer, a reclusive genius in the realm of astrophysics and xenobiology. The plan was tentative, hinged on uncertainties, but it was a thread of hope. They arranged a meeting at Mercer's secluded laboratory, nestled in the foothills of distant mountains, away from prying eyes and ears. Zara felt a surge of nervous anticipation as they approached the lab, her senses alert to the new environment. The building was an unassuming structure, camouflaged by the surrounding wilderness, its exterior weathered and worn. Inside, however, was a different reality, a hive of technology and screens, instruments that hummed with activity, casting a surreal glow over the cluttered space. Dr. Mercer, a man with a shock of unruly gray hair and piercing blue eyes, greeted them with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Thomas tells me you're far from home," he began, his voice a curious blend of warmth and scientific detachment. "Yes," Zara replied, her voice steady despite the flutter of her heart. "I seek refuge, knowledge, or any assistance that can be offered." Mercer led her through his laboratory, showing her devices and experiments that stretched the boundaries of human understanding. "We study anomalies here," he explained, his eyes alight with the thrill of the unknown. "Wormholes, dimensional shifts, the sort of things that sound like science fiction but aren't. You, my dear, are somewhat of an anomaly yourself." As they walked, Zara observed the Earth technologies, some surprisingly compatible with her own people's advancements. She shared insights from her own experiences, sparking animated discussions between Thomas and Mercer. It was during one such conversation that Mercer revealed a prototype device he had been developing, a quantum communicator, capable of potentially reaching across space-time. It's experimental, of course, Mercer cautioned as he showed them the intricate setup. But with your knowledge, Zara, we might just make it work. Together, they pored over the schematics and theory, tweaking and adjusting. Days turned into nights and back again as they tested and refined the device. Zara found herself driven by a new purpose, fueled by the collaborative spirit and the faint whisper of contact with any surviving kin. One evening, as they adjusted the frequency modulators, the device emitted a low, pulsing hum. The screens flickered, then displayed a cascade of data. Zara's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the signal patterns, similar to those used by her people. "We're receiving something," Mercer exclaimed, his voice a mixture of triumph and disbelief. The data was raw, fragmented but unmistakably part of a distress call, looped and degraded by time and distance. Zara's hands trembled as she decoded the message, her eyes glistening with tears. "It's from a colony ship," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "My people. Some of them survived. They're out there." Thomas placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, sharing in the moment of joy and relief. "What does it say? Can we reach them?" Zara analyzed the coordinates embedded in the message, her mind racing. "It's possible," she affirmed, a determined look crossing her face. "With some modifications, we could enhance the signal, maybe establish a stable communication line." Mercer nodded enthusiastically. "Then let's get to work. This could be bigger than any of us imagined." Their efforts intensified, driven by the tangible possibility of reuniting Zara with her own kind. The laboratory became a nexus of hope, where once theoretical science transformed into a beacon, calling across the cosmos. Each adjustment, every calculation brought Zara closer to her distant kin, tethering her new life on Earth with the remnants of her old among the stars. The breakthrough came on a stormy evening, the sky alive with flashes of lightning, mirroring the electric anticipation in Mercer's laboratory. As the final adjustments were made, the quantum communicator hummed to life, resonating with a frequency that seemed to harmonize with the very fabric of the universe. Zara, Thomas, and Mercer watched the monitors with bated breath as the static cleared, revealing a faint but steady signal. "This is it," Mercer whispered, almost afraid to break the spell. "Initiate the transmission." Zara stepped forward, her fingers hovering over the console, her emotions a complex tapestry of hope, fear, and exhilaration. With a gentle push, she sent their message piercing through the cosmic void, calling out to her people. The waiting that followed was torturous, each second stretching into infinity until at last a crackle sounded through the speakers. A voice, distorted but unmistakable, responded, its cadence alien yet familiar. "This is the vessel Arian, surviving colony of unintelligible." "Who is calling?" Tears streamed down Zara's cheeks as she replied, her voice a trembling blend of strength and nostalgia. "This is Zara of the planet Redacted, now seeking refuge on Earth. I am alive. How many of you are left? Where are you?" The conversation that followed was a surreal exchange of technical data and heartfelt stories. The Arian, carrying a few hundred survivors, had been adrift, caught in the gravitational pull of a distant, uninhabited system. Their situation was stable, but they were alone, isolated from any known civilization. As Zara communicated with her kin, Mercer and Thomas worked to strengthen the link, optimizing every parameter to ensure clarity and continuity. The lab buzzed with a new energy, as if the walls themselves resonated with the significance of their endeavor. In the following days, Mercer proposed a daring plan. "We could modify the quantum communicator into a beacon," he suggested. "If we can enhance the signal further, we might be able to guide the Arian to our solar system." The technical challenges were immense. It required not just skill and innovation, but also a leap of faith in what science could achieve when pushed to its limits. Zara and Mercer spent countless hours discussing theoretical physics, bending the laws of space and time through sheer intellectual force. Meanwhile, Thomas took on the task of ensuring their operation remained concealed from the world. The implications of their work were far-reaching, and secrecy was paramount until they could fully understand the consequences. As the project progressed, the lab became a crucible for a potentially new chapter in human history. The beacon, now nearly complete, stood as a testament to human and alien collaboration. Zara, once a desperate refugee, had become a pivotal figure in a project that might well redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. Finally, the day came to activate the beacon. The team gathered around the console, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and the weight of their collective hopes. Zara's finger hovered over the launch sequence, her spirit intertwined with the fate of her people and her new home. "Are we ready?" she asked, looking around at her companions. "We are," Mercer confirmed, nodding solemnly. "Let's bring them home," Thomas added, his voice firm with resolve. With a deep breath, Zara initiated the sequence. A deep, sonorous vibration filled the room, the sound of the beacon reaching across the stars. On the screen, the trajectory of the Aryan adjusted, aligning with the beacon's call. As they watched the ship's path bend toward Earth, Zara felt a profound sense of belonging. Here, amid the green and blue of this beautiful planet, she had found more than shelter. She had discovered allies, friends, and a new purpose. Together they had not only bridged the vastness of space, but had also woven the threads of disparate worlds into a single hopeful tapestry. As the beacon signal pierced the cosmos, the team monitored the Aryan's journey, now a delicate thread spanning the immense tapestry of the universe. Each update from the ship brought a mix of relief and renewed determination, their success a fragile bubble in the vacuum of space. Within weeks, the Aryan reported a significant decrease in distance, their trajectory bringing them ever closer to Earth's solar system. Mercer, his eyes often glued to the screen displaying the ship's progress, began to plan the next phase, receiving the Aryan and integrating its passengers into Earth's environment. "This will be delicate," he cautioned during one of their strategy meetings. "We're talking about introducing a few hundred aliens into human society. The logistics alone are staggering, not to mention the cultural implications." Zara nodded, fully aware of the enormity of their task. "My people are adaptable, and they're survivors," she assured him. "But you're right. We'll need to prepare carefully." They decided to establish a reception area in a remote part of the world where the Aryan could land discreetly, and its passengers could acclimate in isolation. Thomas liaised with various contacts to secure the necessary resources without attracting undue attention, while Mercer focused on developing a series of orientation protocols for Zara's people. Meanwhile, Zara became the bridge between her world and Earth. She prepared extensive briefings on Earth's cultures, languages, and societal norms. Simultaneously, she communicated with the Aryan, tempering their expectations and preparing them for the monumental changes they would face. The world of the laboratory and their plans expanded as the day of the Aryan's arrival approached. Security measures intensified, and the once simple lab transformed into a buzzing hub of activity, staffed by a select group of trusted individuals briefed on the necessity of discretion. On the eve of the Aryan's anticipated entry into Earth's atmosphere, the team gathered in the control room, their faces a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Zara stood with them, her role as intermediary more crucial than ever. "Everything's set," Mercer announced, checking the last of his readings. "The landing zone is clear, and all systems are go. We've done everything we can." As the Aryan entered the atmosphere, cameras positioned around the landing site fed live footage back to the lab. The sight of the alien vessel, aglow with the heat of re-entry, struck a chord in every heart in the room. It was no longer just a mission, it was a historic moment, the beginning of a new era. The ship landed with a grace that belied its size, touching down softly on the designated landing pad. The doors opened and Zara's people emerged, their eyes wide with the first sight of their new world. Zara greeted them, her voice broadcasting over the speaker system. "Welcome to Earth, my friends. This is our new beginning." The integration was slow, meticulous, and not without challenges. Earth scientists and scholars worked alongside Zara's people, exchanging knowledge and technology. Cultural exchanges began, with Earthlings learning about the rich heritage of Zara's civilization, while her kin adapted to their new surroundings. As weeks turned into months, stories of the successful integration reached the wider world. Governments negotiated how to introduce this new reality to their citizens, while in the background, the foundation of a truly unified planetary society was being laid. Zara watched this unfolding, her heart swelling with pride and a touch of melancholy. Her people were safe, their culture preserved, yet forever changed. She walked among them, a figure of respect and authority, her experiences on Earth having prepared her for this role. In the quiet moments, she would often stand with Thomas and Mercer, looking up at the stars. The night sky was no longer a reminder of what she had lost, but a canvas of what they had gained. The universe seemed a little smaller, a little more connected, and filled with infinite possibilities. Months after the Aryans' arrival, the integration of Zara's people into Earth society had reached a stable rhythm. The initial curiosity and inevitable fears of Earth's inhabitants had largely settled into a cautious but growing acceptance. Educational programs were widespread, helping to bridge the cultural and knowledge gaps, while joint initiatives in technology and science flourished, propelled by the combined efforts of human and alien minds. In the heart of this new coexistence, Zara had emerged as an ambassador, not just between her people and humans, but as a symbol of hope and unity. Her unique position allowed her to advocate for peace and cooperation on a scale that few had imagined possible. With every public appearance and every mediated dialogue, she reinforced the potential of their combined future. Meanwhile, Thomas and Mercer continued their work at the laboratory, which had evolved into a center for interspecies innovation and diplomacy. Here, the best minds of both worlds collaborated, exploring the limits of science and technology. Mercer, ever the visionary, was already drafting plans for a joint space exploration program, envisioning ships that would carry mixed crews beyond the solar system. One day, he said during a conference in their newly established auditorium, "We'll look back at this as the moment we truly entered the interstellar community, not as conquerors or explorers seeking only to claim and own, but as learners, as partners with the universe." Thomas, who had taken a somewhat more pragmatic role, managed the growing logistical needs of their expanded operations. His down-to-earth approach balanced Mercer's visionary ideals, ensuring that their projects remained grounded and viable. As the anniversary of the Aryans' arrival approached, a global event was planned to celebrate the successful integration and the promising future ahead. Leaders from around the world, both human and alien, were to speak, reflecting on the past year's challenges and achievements. The event would also unveil the prototype of the first interstellar vessel designed and built by a combined team. Zara stood on the podium, looking out over the crowd of thousands with millions more watching through various media. The weight of her words was not lost on her, nor was the significance of the moment. "Today, we stand together not as two peoples, but as one community," Zara began, her voice clear and resonant. "We have shared knowledge, resources, and even dreams. We have seen that what unites us is far greater than the vastness of space that once separated us." As she spoke, her eyes found Thomas and Mercer in the crowd, their faces beaming with pride and a hint of awe at how far they had come. Her speech continued, outlining the steps forward, the planned missions, the new technologies, and the shared goals. "We embark on this journey not to escape our past, but to enrich our future," Zara concluded, her gaze sweeping over the audience. "Let us walk this path not as leaders and followers, but as equals, as companions under the stars." The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing through the auditorium and beyond, across plains and oceans, through broadcasts and recordings, reaching every corner of Earth and the ship that had brought Zara's people here. Later, as the celebrations continued, Zara, Thomas, and Mercer shared a quiet moment away from the crowds. They looked up at the night sky, now a familiar canopy that promised new adventures. "We did it," Thomas said softly, almost in disbelief. "We did," Mercer agreed, his eyes twinkling with the reflection of the stars. "And we'll continue to do so," Zara added, her voice firm with resolve. Together. Their shared laughter mingled with the sounds of celebration, a simple yet profound melody that spoke of journeys ended and begun, of horizons expanded, and of a future brightly lit not just by stars, but by the shared light of their collective hopes and dreams.